touch you, I feel happy inside.
Picture this. It is a Friday evening and you are sitting in a comfortable chair with a glass of something warm, flipping through old concert ticket stubs you found at the back of a drawer. You remember exactly where you were standing when you first heard that song. The crowd, the lights, the sheer force of the music hitting you in the chest. Some of those nights were 30 or 40 years ago now, and they still feel close enough to touch. And then you see the news. One of those artists, someone whose voice shaped a whole chapter of your life, has canceled a tour or quietly stepped off a stage for what seems like the last time. And something in you wonders, is this the end? Is age really catching up to rock and roll? Here is the honest truth. Some of these artists genuinely cannot perform the way they once did. Not because they stopped caring, not because the music left them, but because the human body has limits, and decades of touring, late nights, and physical punishment have a way of collecting their dues. Today we are going to walk through 12 rock stars who have reached that point, where age, health, or simply hard-won wisdom has brought their performing days to a close, or very nearly so. Some of these stories are sad, some are surprisingly inspiring. All of them are worth knowing. If you would like a companion guide with more background on each of these artists, there is a link in the description. I will not bring it up again. Number 1. Ozzy Osbourne. Ozzy spent decades as one of the most physically demanding performers in rock history. He toured relentlessly for nearly 50 years and built a reputation as someone who seemed genuinely indestructible. But in 2019, he revealed he had been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. He also suffered serious spinal injuries following a fall at home that required multiple surgeries. He had planned a farewell tour he called No More Tours 2, but health issues forced repeated cancellations and postponements. By the early 2020s, it was clear that Ozzy's days as a full touring rock star were effectively over. He has said himself that he may never perform a complete show again. For a man who once seemed immune to consequences, the honesty of that admission carries real weight.
After all, there's only just the two of us.
Number 2. Elton John.
Susie had so much fun, holding hands and screaming stone.
Elton John closed out one of the longest farewell tours in rock history with his Farewell Yellow Brick Road run, finishing the final stretch of shows in 2023. But the farewell was not just a show business gesture. Elton had been dealing with a serious hip injury, as well as significant vision problems following a dangerous eye infection. His voice, while still capable of genuine moments, is not what it was at its peak. He has made clear that he is done with the physical demands of full-scale touring. For an artist who gave so much energy on stage for over 50 years, calling time is not weakness, it is wisdom.
I can see the red tail lights heading for Spain.
Number 3. Paul Simon.
Tumbling in turmoil, I say, oh, so this is what she means. She means we're bouncing in a grace.
Paul Simon is one of the most thoughtful songwriters in American music, and his departure from live performance is one of the more quietly moving ones. He stepped back from touring in part because of significant hearing loss. For a musician who built his career on the subtleties of sound, the finger-picking, the harmonies, the texture of a song, losing the ability to fully hear what he is playing is a particularly painful irony. He has given farewell performances over the years, but has spoken openly about how difficult it is to perform when you can no longer fully trust your own ears. His honesty about it is something many musicians of his generation share, but rarely say out loud. Number 4. Pete Townshend. Pete Townshend of The Who has been dealing with severe hearing damage for decades. His playing style, those famous windmill arm swings on the guitar, helped make him a legend, but it also contributed to a lifetime of punishment on his body and his ears. Townshend has spoken extensively about his tinnitus, which became so severe that there were periods when he could barely function day to day. The Who have continued to perform, but in a limited and increasingly scaled-back way. Pete has said that playing loud rock music is something he can only do so much of before the damage worsens. For him, the stage is a place he visits carefully, not one he can live on anymore. Number 5. Roger Daltrey. Roger Daltrey has one of the most powerful voices in rock history, but voices are fragile instruments, even the strongest ones. Over the years, Daltrey has experienced recurring vocal problems that have forced him to cancel or shorten performances. A throat condition has limited his upper range, and he has been candid about the fact that he can no longer hit notes he once took entirely for granted. The Who have soldiered on, but Roger has spoken about the deep frustration of a voice that does not always cooperate the way it once did. When you have spent your career being known for raw, powerful vocals, the adjustment is not just physical, it is deeply personal.
Worked hard and failed, now all I can say is I threw it all away.
Number 6. Robert Plant. Robert Plant's voice was one of the most recognizable in rock history, and he has wisely chosen not to abuse what remains of it. Plant has largely stepped back from the kind of high-energy, full-scale touring that defined his years with Led Zeppelin. He continues to make music and perform on a smaller, more selective scale, but the days of stadium shows and ear-splitting highs are behind him. He has been admirably honest about it, saying in various interviews that he has no interest in performing in ways that would embarrass him or disappoint an audience. That kind of self-awareness is rarer than it should be in rock and roll.
Your head is humming out, it won't go, in case you don't know. The pipers.
Number 7. Keith Richards.
What's my name? Won't you tell me, baby? What's my name? I want you to tell me, sweetie.
Keith Richards has outlived predictions of his early death for so long that it almost became a running joke. But age has caught up even with Keith. The Rolling Stones continue to tour, but Richards himself has spoken about the physical toll of decades on the road. The death of Charlie Watts in 2021 visibly shook the band and removed a steadying presence that had held things together for generations. Keith's playing, while still recognizable, lacks the precision and energy of his prime years. Those who have seen recent Stones shows note that Mick Jagger still carries an enormous share of the physical work on stage. Keith watches the set list more carefully now than he ever used to.
Ooh, baby, what's in your eyes? That's at the time.
Number 8. Rod Stewart.
Take him, get up on in town when you sat down and cried on the stage.
Rod Stewart is one of the great survivors in rock. He battled thyroid cancer in the late 1990s, a diagnosis he kept private for years before eventually speaking about it publicly. His voice, that raspy, instantly recognizable sound, has changed over the decades, but he has continued to perform with real commitment. However, in recent years he has spoken about winding down his touring schedule. His body has paid a significant price for decades of concerts, and he is honest about the fact that the recovery time after a show is nothing like it used to be. Rod still performs, but on his own terms, and with considerably more rest built in than he once needed.
Spread your wings and let me come inside, 'cause
Number 9. Neil Young. Neil Young has always done things on his own schedule and by his own rules. He has spoken openly about the lingering effects of childhood polio, which affected one of his legs, and about the physical demands that years of performing have placed on his body over time. He has announced retirements and comebacks with equal conviction over the decades. More recently, health has played a larger role in his decisions about touring. His voice is thinner than it once was, and he acknowledges that long tours are not something his body handles the way it did in his earlier years. When Neil Young decides to play, it still matters to a great many people, but those moments are rarer now and more carefully chosen.
In my mind, I still need a place to go.
Number 10. Paul McCartney.
In the village square, with a rabbit's on the road.
Paul McCartney deserves genuine credit for still performing at all at his age. He has played sets that run for nearly 3 hours and has genuinely stunned crowds with his energy and commitment. But time leaves marks on everyone, and McCartney's voice has changed significantly over the years. He can no longer reliably hit the higher notes that define songs like Hey Jude and Let It Be in their original form. He transposes keys, uses backing vocal support, and paces himself carefully through a long show. None of that is shameful. It is sensible. But for those who remember what his voice sounded like in its prime, recent concerts can be a bittersweet experience. He may be the best example of someone performing right at the very edge of what age will allow.
This ever-changing world in which we live.
Number 11. David Crosby.
It will make you cry, make you crazy and old.
David Crosby passed away in early 2023, and his final years were a reminder of how much wear a life in music can leave on a person. He had a liver transplant in the 1990s after years of serious health struggles, and he battled heart disease and diabetes in his later decades. He continued to record and occasionally perform almost until the very end, which was, in many ways, remarkable. But those late performances were a shadow of what he had once been capable of. His voice, once one of the most distinctive in American harmony singing, had diminished considerably. His story is one of survival, creativity, and the inevitable cost of a life fully and intensely lived.
Find a way, get through another city day.
Number 12. Ringo Starr.
Lady that I know just came from Mallorca, Spain. She smiled because I did not understand.
Ringo Starr is still out there performing with his all-star band, and that is genuinely something to appreciate. But he is in his mid-80s now, and the question of how long he can continue is one that even his most devoted fans quietly ask. He has had health scares over the years, and while he remains warm and energetic on stage, the physicality of drumming takes a serious toll on the body over a lifetime. Ringo has talked about slowing down and about enjoying the music without pushing himself the way he once did. His style was always more about feel and pocket than flash, which has served him well into his later years. But the clock moves for everyone, even the Beatles. These 12 artists represent something larger than just the passage of time. They are the soundtrack of many of your lives, and watching them navigate age, health, and the decision of when to step back is something personal for a lot of folks. There is no shame in any of this. These men gave everything they had on stage for decades. Some are still going, just more carefully and deliberately than before. Some have stopped. All of them earned whatever rest comes next. If you have been following this channel for a while and you enjoy conversations like this one, consider subscribing and joining the community. We talk through the music with folks every week, and we answer questions in the comments as often as we can. It is a good group of people, and we would love to have you. I would love to know, which of these artists did you see live? What is your most vivid memory from that concert? Leave it in the comments below, and those stories are worth sharing, and I read every one of them. Next time, we are going to look at rock stars who walked away from fame at the very top of their game and never looked back. That one is a fascinating story. Take care of yourself and keep the record spinning.
You're all forgiven.